What we're going to cover a little bit is just an introduction to triathlon for those who are brand new to triathlon. Then we're going to talk a little bit about actually choosing your program from where all the different distances come into the races. And we'll talk about physically training for your chosen race or your goal and how we actually give you the program and how we monitor what you're doing. We talk about the communication between the athletes and the coaches and the different groups we've got. We talk a little bit about the specialists, like where we are right now. We go through the equipment that you're going to need to get started and a little bit more of the advanced equipment as we go a little bit further. And then, I don't know why races is there, but that should have been up there. Anyway, that's all good. So we'll just carry on as we are. Thanks very much to Giant in Cape Town, first of all, just for hosting us here. It's a nice venue to be here. And that's Gav there and Jihad. So you can ask them any questions about bike-related stuff. There's a register going around. If your name is on that register, you get a free wash and lube at Giant for sure whenever you're ready. So wait till your bike is nice and dirty and then you can bring it in here. And I promise you, I'll make it look brand new when it leaves from here. Right, so my name's Steve Atwell. If you join Embark on the Atlantic Seaboard, I will be your coach on the side. We do have other branches which we'll talk about a little bit later. I did my first triathlon in 2004 in London, and I was hooked from day one. I really loved it. And from that day on, and from when you do your first triathlon, or even your second one, or however far you are into your triathlon career, you're always thinking, how can I get faster? How can I get faster? I actually did it on it was a mountain bike, but the ones that had the dual suspension, but the very old ones that actually had the springs in the back. And my dad said to me, you're not going to go very fast on this bike ever because it just every time you're pressing down, it's just absorbing that power and you're losing all the power. So we put it into my dad's garage and just welded the suspension out. And then I was like 6 or 7% faster by just doing that. So you can certainly buy yourself time. So nowadays we don't have to do welding. You can just buy yourself a time trial bike for speed. But there's lots and lots of different little tricks that doesn't cost you an arm and a leg just to get a little bit faster. Yeah, let's leave that one. Don't be afraid for all the newbies. That's Shirley. She was just about to do Ironman and she was petrified, but she got through it. So just to settle your nerves a little bit, we're just going to play this video. Self-explanatory.
2.5 years ago, David Tate weighed 215 kilograms and was on medication for diabetes and high blood pressure. He underwent gastric bypass surgery, but when his weight loss hit a plateau, David started participating in endurance races and lost 85 kilograms.
I've been overweight all my life, and eating was obviously always a problem for me. Generally, too much and the wrong things. You live in a stressed, hectic lifestyle. You reach for the fast food, something you can grab straight away, you don't pay your meals properly. And with all of that, obviously, my life got out of control. The heavier you get, the harder the exercise becomes. So you start doing less and less of it. It's nice to be able to inspire other people, to actually get off the couch. Yes, you can't just get off the couch and go and do a half Ironman. There's quite a few steps you have to do in between. But everyone can do something. And all you've got to do, set yourself the achievable goal, make it difficult, but then go out there and work out how you're going to get it. And once you do it, you'll realize how much better everything becomes because you are so much fitter and healthier.
Well, when I met David, he was overweight, but I fell in love with him as a person at that size. And I'm still in love with him, even though he's lost the weight. He's still the same person. But we have this joke that I could take it to the advertiser's standards authority, because when I met him, I thought I was marrying an extreme couch potato, and I'm ending up with an extreme sportsman, and no one saw that coming. Life changed quite dramatically after surgery. This was the amount of food he could eat in one meal. This was his dinner plate. So I would sit with a normal sized dinner plate and he could only have this much food. So I felt quite shy and embarrassed to eat in front of him, and I'd end up leaving the flat and going eating even more than normal outside. I turned into a bit of a binge eater.
The experience of working with Dave has been a really rewarding one for me. He's probably one of my most determined athletes on the program. The very first time I met Dave, we were doing a strength session on the promenade. I was completely dark and I hadn't actually met Dave. I went up to Dave. I said, Dave, just take it easy there. And he kind of looked at me and scowled. I said, I'm not here to take it easy.
David joined Steve Atwell's Embark Half Ironman Triathlon training program and spent 6 months preparing for the grueling race.
With David, the highlight was definitely at the race, at the 70.3 race on race day itself. Dave was getting a countdown from the commentator. He had about 40 seconds to get over the line, and the commentator had actually seen that Dave was coming. He was about 200 meters from the line, and all of the Embark team had come up to the barriers. They were playing with Dave, they were screaming and shouting to Dave. Dave was getting everything to get over the line. And then he got the 3-2-1, and Dave was maybe about 100 meters away from the line. And he kind of bent down, and the music just went quiet. The commentator didn't know what to say. We all stopped and we just looked. And then Dave suddenly stood up and he looked at the line and he carried on running. And with this 100% determination, he got over that line, missing the cut for like 40 seconds. And he got the biggest cheer of the day.
The Ironman training was very good. We did a lot of 70k rides followed by 15 kilometer runs, and that's the sort of training you need to do in order to be able to exercise for 8.5 hours without stopping. But the whole thing was, the training was amazing because you're doing it with so many other people, everyone's there encouraging you, everyone's helping you, and you're helping others as well, and it actually makes it fun as well as hard. In the future, I've got quite a few races lined up. I'm going to take an hour and a half off my August time. I'm doing my first 2 Oceans Half Marathon, and obviously in January next year there's the Ironman in East London where I've got to go collect a small piece of metal that I forgot behind me. We live in one of the most beautiful countries in the world. You can go outside and do something almost every weekend of the year. So try and do something. Even if you're starting off with a walk, a short cycle, anything like that. You can achieve anything you want to achieve, but you've got to take that first step. If you don't take a first step, you'll never get anywhere.
David may not look like a triathlete, but he is one. And swimming, riding, and running proves that a little determination can go a long way.
I wanna live the best life.
Yeah. But there's still more, don't worry. There's much more. So, yeah, that was Dave. He did the 70.3. Although he didn't finish that one, he actually went back the following year and he did actually complete it. And then he went to Berlin and he did the 70.3 in Berlin and he got the medal as well. And then he trained for Ironman. I actually should know, but I can't remember actually if he ended up doing the Ironman. But anyway, he now does this ice cold water swimming. He's pretty good at that. So just in terms of the races and distances, there's the sprint distance race, which is the shortest of all the races besides the super sprints, which are really the very quick ones or the junior ones. But the sprint distance is a 750 meter swim. It's a 20 kilometer bike and a 5K run. That's generally what I would suggest for you to start off with. If you're a beginner and you're looking to do your first triathlon, a sprint distance is really a good one to do. A lot of people will come and do one triathlon in their life and they do Ironman. And the training for an Ironman versus training for a sprint triathlon is completely different. An Ironman will consume your life, like Dusty will tell you, or Kevin will tell you, the guys that have done it. For 3 months, you just got to have your head down, and it's just about training every single day. You're always tired. You're always doing harder sessions. It's really, really hard. So at the end of that, I just feel you've trained for the Ironman, you've done it, and you're like, yes, no, this triathlon is not for me. It's too hard work. Whereas if you've done a sprint triathlon and you've done a standard distance and it's 70.3, you can actually reflect back and say, oh, it wasn't actually that much training to do a sprint triathlon, and you can do this as a lifestyle or even as a weekend warrior, still do the race and still have a good life and a good family life as well. So the sprint one, I'd say, is probably one of the favorite races as well. You can go really hard on it as well. You can really race it hard because it's quite a short race. The standard distance, or the Olympic distance, they call it the Olympic distance, it's because the one that is at the Olympics. It's a 1,500 meter swim, a 40K bike, and a 10K run. So it's basically just doubled up on the sprint distances. So the kind of journey that you would take, you'd do a sprint distance, you'd then do a standard distance, and then I would suggest then you start to look at doing the 70.3s. I would always do 2 seasons of triathlon training before I would advise someone to actually go on and do an Ironman. It's just because it's a lot of training and your body takes a huge knock and you've got to be quite fit and strong to manage to do the training without getting injured. So the Ironman distance, they call it the Ironman 70.3, and the 70.3 is the distance of the Ironman in miles. So it's a mile swim plus here we go, testing me, 50-mile ride or so, and then a 16-mile run. So added together, it becomes 70.3. That's where they've got the name from. It's a 1.9 kilometer swim, a 90K bike, and then a half marathon off the bike. So that's generally, it's taking between, the winners are doing it in under 4 hours nowadays, but I'd say the average is around 6 hours to complete a 70.3. You're probably looking at up to about 10 hours of training a week. And then the pinnacle of it is the Ironman itself. that is 3.8 kilometers of swimming. It's a hell of a long way. 180 Ks on the bike, and then you've still got a marathon to run. I've done a couple of the Ironman, and when you get off that bike and you're absolutely exhausted, and you feel in your mind, you've still got a marathon to run. Normally, if you're preparing for like Cape Town Marathon, you've had like 4 days off, and then you eat well that night before, and you've rested for 2 days, and you wake up and you eat breakfast, and you go and you run the marathon. Now you've been already exercising for close to like 7 or 8, 10 hours, and now you've got a full marathon to run. It's really hectic. So mentally and physical, it's a massive day out. But it's an incredible day out as well. Like, no doubt about that. It's like, it doesn't matter how exhausted you are, when you get to that finish line and the red carpet is there and the lights are going and the commentators are shouting and everyone is down there clapping. It doesn't matter how tired you are, you're going to sprint on that red carpet. And that's what you remember. You don't remember if it's taken you 16 hours, for 15 hours and 50 minutes, you've been saying how much you hate this race, you'll never do it again. But when you get on that red carpet, those 10 seconds is what you remember. It's an incredible feeling. And then about 4 days later, you're into the Ironman the following year again, although you vow you'll never do it. So just on average, they've been taking the times of sprint triathlons across all the races across all the world, and they're saying on average, it's taking 20 minutes for the 750-meter swim, 45 minutes for the 20-kilometer bike, and 26 minutes for the 5K run. So you can just work out in your mind kind of where you are on those. So what is the goal now? So you kind of know what the race distances are. We're going to go through what the races are a little bit later as well. But the next thing for you is actually just to pick a goal and say, what is it that you want to do? So as I suggested there, sprint is a really good one to start. If you're a little bit fit and you've been riding a little bit, you've been running, you can do swimming. You could probably aim at looking at doing the standard or looking to do the 70.3 in a couple of months' time. And I'll get to those races as well. The biggest other thing is it must be a realistic goal. If you're a complete beginner and you're not really swimming at the moment, don't say, I'm going to do the PE 70.3 in 7 weeks' time, because that's very unrealistic. Just kind of set yourself up, and it's very disappointing if you don't get there. You need to commit to the training. We have lots of people who say, yes, I'm definitely doing 70.3 in 6 months, I can do it. And I see them at 2 or 3 training sessions during that season building up to it, and then they're very disappointed and they don't get the time that they think they would get, but it's unrealistic time on the training they're doing. I would always say, do less more often than doing more less often. So don't come to one training session a week and do the 3-hour bike. Rather come to every session and do half of the session. Rather come to every session and do everything, but you have to choose between those two, rather do 1 or 2 of those. So just in your mind, you can kind of pick a goal and choose that. That's the middle for Mossel Bay. So the race schedule is jam-packed for this season. There are a hell of a lot of races. This is going right through to November, but this doesn't have all the races on this. It's got a lot of the triathlon races here, and it's mainly in the Western Cape. We are on Instagram Live at the moment for those who aren't here, and there's quite a few that are looking from Joburg or from the other regions. So this is just really for the Cape Town races, but includes the 70.3s, which are around South Africa as well. Although there are a lot here, we obviously earmark certain races. So those who are doing the Durban 70.3 who commit to that race coming forward, we actually have a sprint triathlon to do. We have a standard distance triathlon to do. We do the Cape Town Cycle Tour. We do the Two Oceans Half Marathon as part of the build-up to the Durban 70.3. So by the time you get there, you've done a sprint triathlon, you've done a standard triathlon, you've done a half marathon, you've done a 100K ride, you've done it all, you've put a lot of it in brick sessions together like that. It's just about turning up at the race and actually doing that race. We have this on our website, so you can actually go and have a look at this full schedule with more of those races. But obviously, as you join the program, I kind of guide you as on what to do and how to do it. And as I say, the teams will go to this, and we set up the gazebos there, and we just have like quite a nice team vibe that's there. That's at the Walker Bay. So your first triathlon, if you're here as a complete newbie and you just want to get into triathlon and do your first triathlon, there's no level expected, and we generally say like the more beginner you are, the better it is at the beginners. Siobhan, who's sitting down here, who's doing a lot of our pictures here for social media, she is our beginners coach. So although the groups do train together, we try and keep the community always together. So we always meet at the same time, we finish at the same time, we have a coffee afterwards. The beginner guys will do a different session within the session that the group does. So Siobhan's very much about teaching the guys to use their gears, road safety, turning around, drinking from the water bottle, all those things that more experienced riders don't even think about doing, but as a beginner, it's terrifying to take your hands off the handlebars and actually take your water bottle out. So some of them will be riding 40 Ks in the heat and not even have a sip of their juice. Absolutely perish by the time they finish because they're just too scared to take their hands off the water bottle and take a drink. So those are kind of things you learn. And it doesn't take long. Some people pick it up really quickly. And then the advantage of the groups training together, if you are a stronger biker, you don't have to be with the beginners all the time. Throughout the time, you can join the beginners for a few sessions and then step up to the groups that are doing longer rides. Same with the swimming and the running. The beginners are generally just doing 3 sessions during the week. They don't do any weekend stuff unless they want to join the other groups and do that. But we would just say, get in a swim, get in a bike, get in a run with the group, and you'll slowly progress towards your goal there as well. And it's slow progress. It's like just slow cooking it. You're not going to go there and say, you choose a realistic goal and that's what you do. You just do a little bit, just little small gains during the week, over the months, over the year, and it just becomes a lot easier. The sprint races that are happening this year, and I'll just quickly go through them because there's quite a lot of them, and I think depending where you are kind of in where you are now, there's a sprint race that's on the 26th of March. Sorry, there's actually the Blue Lagoon, which I'll go to next, but the one after the Blue Lagoon is March 26th. There's a sprint just outside Hermanus. On April the 16th, there's one at Val de Vie. On April the 23rd, there's one at Theovartuskloof. On the 1st of May, there's one in Hermanus. On the 28th of May, there's one in Langebaan. On the 8th of October, there's the Cape Town Tri. And on the 5th of November, there's one back at Val de Vie. So there's a lot of races to choose from as a beginner. So if you only want to do the sprint triathlons this year, you've actually got a lot of triathlons to do, which is really nice. This Tinman series that's come is the first year they're going to be in Cape Town, and there's 4 races this year. So it's a really nice series to do. So that is your first triathlon. So in 1 month's time, we've actually got our first triathlon of this season. It's called the Blue Lagoon. It's up in Langebaan. There's both a sprint and an Olympic distance. So most of the guys who are training with us already that are doing the 70.3 in PE or in Durban will have been training with this kind of on their program. So as a team, we will go up to Langebaan. It's actually part of a training weekend for the Ironman and the 70.3 guys who are doing PE in 7 weeks' time. 7 weeks' time, somewhere around there, yeah. So we have quite a long swim in the morning on Friday. Then we meet outside here and we'll ride to Langebaan on the Friday, and then we do the race on the Saturday. We do a run on the Saturday afternoon, and we do the long swim on the Sunday. So it's a really nice weekend if you're kind of at that level. You don't have to do all of it if you want, and there's support vehicles going anyway, so you can do part of the ride or so on. But that's the first race. In 7 weeks' time, I know there's a lot of us that are also sitting here that are doing the Ironman Nelson Mandela Bay, which is the PE one. Last year was the first year that they had a 70.3 that ran kind of parallel with the Ironman, so it's on the same day. That is on the 5th of March. If you are not currently training for that PE, just kind of the level that we'd need you to be at now, if you decided that in 7 weeks' time you're doing the PE and you're kind of new to the groups, you've got to be swimming 1,000 meters non-stop by now. If you can't swim like 4 to 6 lengths in a pool without stopping, I suggest maybe you just choose a more realistic goal for that, or get a swim coach and just concentrating on swimming maybe for the next 7 weeks. Biking around 60 kilometers, preferably on a road bike currently, and running around 12 kilometers. So that's kind of, I'd say, where you need to be at to do the 70.8. Not all together, but I mean, if you can put 2 back to back, you're probably well on your way to PE in a couple of months' time. And then in 20 weeks' time, and traditionally this is what we'd normally do, we'd have this orientation in January, and it would be for the Durban in January, which gives you about 5 months to train. And I can wholeheartedly say that if you follow the program for these next 5 months, you will cross that line in Durban and get that medal and finish in the allotted time. Right now, if you want to join the Durban program, it kind of starts off at a very easy level and slowly progress and builds right up there. If you can swim 400 meters, and although it says they're non-stop, it doesn't mean 400 meters non-stop. It means if you can go into a session at the pool and you can swim 400 meters, it means you're going to be okay in the next 6 months or so. 40 kilometers outdoors, preferably on a road bike. You don't have to be riding that fast, it's just that it's quite uncomfortable sitting on a bike for an extended amount of time. You need to get used to that. It's uncomfortable sitting on your undercarriage, it's uncomfortable just because of that position holding your neck as well. And it just takes time to learn all that stuff. But the more you do it, the easier it becomes. And then running around 5 kilometers. Again, you don't have to put all of those together, but if you can do at least 2 out of those 3, I can almost promise you can get that medal in Durban. So Durban is a very, very nice 70.3 to do. It's flat. It's generally about 20 minutes faster than the old East London that we used to have, and the new Mossel Bay that's replaced it, and also the PE one. So it's flat and fast. The sea's generally quite nice. It's warm. Although it's in June, it's like summer in Durban, which is really nice to do. And it's a bit of a tour because you fly to Durban and have a few days in Durban as well. So that's a nice one to look at if you are not a complete beginner and you're just kind of looking to get into the triathlon. I'd say Durban is a really nice one to start to aim for. And then the Mossel Bay, this gives you a real long time. So if you're a very beginner now, I suggest that this is a good one to look at. It's 44 weeks away. That gives you a lot of time. If you're doing a little bit every week from now, you can. This is a very achievable goal to do your first half Ironman 70.3. So that's actually one to consider. This Mossel Bay one was the first one that they did at the end of last year, November, and I think this Mossel Bay will become the home of triathlon in South Africa because the whole of Mossel Bay came out to support it. It's quite a tough bike, which is nice because you want it to be hard. You can go to Durban for your PE, for your personal best, and go to Mossel Bay to get that hard man medal. So it's a nice one to go. And the nice thing for us is that we can drive to Mossel Bay. So you can put your bike in your car, you can drive down there, you've got your car there. It's a lot cheaper than having to go to Durban and flying with your bike and having to reassemble your bike that side or paying to get it transported that side and having the days of accommodation there. So just price-wise as well, this works out quite nicely. And normally we get about, the Joburg guys, Gauteng's normally represent about 50% of the field at PE and when we had East London and Durban, but for this one, Western Cape was more than 50% for Mossel Bay, so it's like it's going to be our home ground as well, which is quite nice. And then the Ironman itself. Look, if you haven't started training for this one, I suggest it's not the one to do. So I can say right now, if you can swim 10 kilometers as a butterfly, if you can ride 400 kilometers before breakfast on a BMX, and you can run 160 kilometers pushing a wheelbarrow, then you can start training for the Ironman. But if you're not anywhere near those, let's put Ironman off until next year. Okay. And then we also have a running division. If you're not interested in the triathlon or you just really want to ease yourself into it, we do have a completely separate running side of Embark on the Atlantic Seaboard. They run separately. They run on a Tuesday morning, a Thursday morning, and their long run on the weekend. It's just running. And their Two Oceans 12-week program starts in a couple of weeks' time, just after Beta Bay on the 22nd of Jan. And although there's no real level expected there because the coach there, Garth, really does take the ability into account, and he really makes the sessions very easy for everyone to be able to complete. But if you're running between 5 and 8Ks, that gives you kind of a healthy and potentially injury-free way to get to your half Ironman in 12 weeks. There's Leah. You girls. So just like interesting, every year we do a 70.3 overseas. We just haven't done one now because of COVID, but we've done the 70.3 in Portugal before, and Croatia and Barcelona. We've done a running festival in Mauritius as well, which is great. And last year we actually did a riding tour in Barcelona, in Girona in Spain. It's really beautiful. It's becoming like the new home of like international riding. They've got just endless roads there, and they're very, very safe. There's very few cars that ride on those roads. It was just beautiful. We rode, I'm going to say, more than 600 Ks in 5 days, maybe saw 3 cars. So it was really, really cool. So actually looking at doing an international training camp next year, and it'll be in September. We stay at a place called Rocacorba, which is set up for cyclists. It's like a boutique, I'm not going to say hotel because they're these old ancient ruins that they've changed now into this like really beautiful accommodation. And there's Lake Banyoles, which is right down there, which is where Jan Frodeno trains, where Mario Mola, where a lot of the international pro teams are currently training in. Just great place to swim, amazing riding, and just endless running there. And obviously the coaches will be there as well for the training camp, and we've got guides that take us out on a ride. That's from the 11th to the 16th of September. It's 850 euros per person, and that actually includes everything. You just got to fly into Barcelona. They'll fetch you as a group from Barcelona, take you to the accommodation. All your meals are included in that. All the guides, all the swimming, the bike, and running is included in that, and then they take you back to the airport where you fly from. So this is just a little video of what we did last year. Great. And then we have two local training camps. The one is that I spoke about just now, the Blue Lagoon, and the second one is from the 27th of April to the 1st of May. And it's just a local one. It's at the Walker Bay Outdoor Festival. It's just an extreme sports festival. They have the swimming, jumping, riding, trail running, extreme hikes, dash for cash. And we're going to just create a kind of a training camp around those, doing the events that you want to do, and we'll kind of go up as a team and we've got a nice house that we can hire, then and everyone just comes in and does their events. We do additional stuff when we're there, and that's nice because it's just in Herman, it's like an hour away. So it's also a nice one just to bring the guys together and just race at the same time, which is quite cool. So those are the two local training camps that we've got. And then the training itself. So we've spoken about all of the different races you can do and what you can choose and how we get there. You get a weekly training program, and I'll speak specifically about Atlantic Seaboard. Is there anyone here who's not looking specifically at Atlantic Seaboard? Where are you guys? Southern suburbs, okay, all right, that's fine, but no one else. Okay, so just for example, on a Monday, I teach the ride class at the Point Virgin Active at 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock. So it's generally either a recovery ride or a tempo ride, which we do. Tuesday morning, we run at the track, which is our speed session. Tuesday evening, we do a strength session with Siobhan. She's our bio, the beginner's coach as well. Where's she gone? She's not here. Wednesday morning, we always do a group ride out and back. Wednesday evening, we do an open water sea swim. So we're either at the tidal pools or at Clifton Fourth or at Barley Bay, just practicing swimming in the sea. On a Thursday morning, we do hill sessions of running. On a Friday morning, we swim at the canals. On a Saturday morning, we do our long bike with a run off the bike if we're doing a brick session. And on a Sunday, you've got your individual long run. So there's basically something to do every single day with the group. And depending on what your program is how much you plug into that. So as I said previously, the beginners will only do the weekly stuff. So they'll do the swim and the bike and the run. The 70.3 guys that are doing PE, they're doing all of that. The Ironman guys are doing all of that and more in all of the sessions. And the guys that now sign up for the Durban ones, you will progressively start to do all of those. So obviously, some guys are joining that will be a lot fitter than other people, but it's kind of, you can pick and choose what you want to do, but there will be key sessions in that week, which you'll need to do if you're aiming towards that 70.3. So there's group sessions, almost every day there are the group sessions to do, but there are additional sessions on your program, which you'll need to do if you're doing bigger races like the Ironman guys are doing. And then there's obviously the options of it's a group training program, and there's an option of getting individual programs for you. If you can't make the group training, or the times don't suit you, or you need to do more stuff, you need to do less stuff, you need something more personalized, more kind of for yourself, we obviously facilitate programs like that as well. But you can still plug into the group training. So you can say, I can't do any of the midweek stuff, but I want to do the Friday swim and the weekend long stuff with the group, so we can plug that into it, and the rest of the stuff you can have. If you're, for example, up in Joburg or something, you can have a program for yourself for those couple of days. And obviously there's one-on-one coaching as well if you need that. So that's the training. And then obviously you've all got a program. So the way that we deliver this is by using an online app called Training Peaks. In its purest form, it's just a calendar. Basically, it says Monday, and when you click on Monday opens up and it says, okay, Monday you've got a ride. It says exactly where the ride is, how long it is, exactly what the session is, which is very useful for you because you don't have to text me and say, hey Steve, what's happening tomorrow? You can actually open your Training Peaks and you can see exactly what's happening. It's always updated for a week in advance, so the athletes will always know what they're doing this weekend. And on Friday, I'll update it again so you know what's going on the following week. So you can kind of plan your life around your training as well. It's let's say check in. So if you've got a smartwatch, which the majority of you guys do have now, it doesn't matter if you don't have, because you can just input this by opening the app and inputting it yourself. But if you do have a smartwatch, it's kind of recording your metrics all the time. So if you're riding outside, it's recording your GPS and your heart rate and the time you're training for. And as soon as you've done and you link it up to your Garmin Connect or your Moves Count with Suntu, it then automatically will update to Training Peaks. And you won't really see this, but there's a planned session. Just for example here, this is an hour session of 8 kilometers of running. And when you've completed it and it uploads onto your watch and onto your Training Peaks, it actually changes different colors on the Training Peaks to show you what you've done. So green block is what the coach is always looking for. It just gives you like 10% either side of doing the session. So if you're doing a little bit more, a little bit less, it's actually okay. The Then the orange blocks if you're doing 20% more or less. Then we've got yellow blocks if you're doing 50% more or less, and red blocks if you've done nothing or if you've done 100% more. This obviously becomes a little bit dangerous if you're running and you're just running too much, or you're not doing anything for a couple of weeks and then you suddenly come back and do a long run. The risk of getting injured is quite high. So it's a really good way to monitor us, and just keeping the colors is quite a nice way. We always talk about getting the green blocks. Just get the green blocks. Go to your hour or go and do your 8Ks or whatever it would be. So Training Peaks is free for the athletes. You can download a free version of it. You just need to create a username and password for that, and then we will, once you've linked to Embark, we then apply the program you're on. So we'd apply the beginner's program or apply the 70.3 program to you, and then you've got it. You've just got it all the time. You can have the app on your phone, or you can do your tablet, or you can use the web-based or web desktop application as well. So that's a really nice one. For the groups and the communication stuff, we've got the WhatsApp groups for that. We have a coaches corner, which is specifically for the coaches. So it's just about late changes, and if there's too much wind and we can't do the ride, or we're going to change the venue suddenly. It's just there's no noise in that group. The social group is for everyone to write whatever you want. You can post pictures of the sessions that we had there, pictures of your cats doing something funny, or wishing someone happy birthday, whatever you want. I just suggest mute that group because sometimes it can get a little bit raucous. Hey, Kev. And then we obviously have recommended specialists that we refer to all the time. I mean, we're doing quite a lot of exercise here. Not that I'm saying you're likely to get injured, but if you do get injured because of the increase in the exercise that you do, there's my wife there. She's a physio. She's also pregnant now, so she's going on maternity leave. But she kind of looks after the Embark guys when they do get injury. And she's also trained with us, which is really nice because we kind of got a physio on hand. And same with Siobhan, she's the bio. So between the bio and the physio, you can be assessed and told what's wrong, and you can get rehab straight away from the bio, strength and conditioning. So if you do get injured, we've actually got ways to keep you injury-free or getting back into the program as soon as possible. The Run store, which is just down here in Bree Street, is phenomenal. These guys are so technical on running. They're really, really good. When it's time for you to buy new shoes, go there. You get 20% off any of the New Balance shoes or 10% off any of your new shoes. You must bring your old shoes in with you. They'll run you on the treadmill. They'll have a look at your gait, and they'll analyze how you run. They'll suggest what shoe you need. They won't push you into any brand. They'll say, these are the brands, these are the shoes you need. You can choose which ones you want, and you can walk away there and get proper shoes. And a lot of the times, like if people are developing shin sprints from running a little bit too much, it's generally the shoes that are causing this. It's because the newer athletes don't really know that the shoes can cause the problem. But the moment they get into the shoe that's right for them, it can correct their running style or their gait, and you can stay quite injury-free for a long time. And shoes obviously only have a certain life. Once you've run between 500 or 800 kilometers in the shoes, they start to wear out. So you need to update those. I know they're quite expensive, but having an injury is a lot worse than having to keep having an expensive pair of shoes. And then obviously we've got the Giant store down here for choosing the right equipment, getting your bike serviced, and just knowledge about the bikes. You can do bike setups here as well, which is really useful. As an Embark members, you get 10% off whatever you're doing, buying bikes or kit or services as well. And there is a register floating around for those of you who haven't signed it yet. Please sign it, because if your name is on that, you get a free wash and lube here at Giant the next time your bike is really dirty. Okay, so just make sure your name is on that list. But we're also going to email you, so it's like it's a good way for us. And then obviously the wetsuit, we do wetsuit demos. I'll talk a little bit about the wetsuits now before we get there, but because we're fortunate and unfortunate. Fortunately, we live on the Atlantic seaboard, but unfortunately, it's very cold water. So if you're going to be swimming in the sea, you're going to need a wetsuit. So we do wetsuit demos on certain times throughout the program, so you can actually get into a wetsuit, feel what it feels like to be in a wetsuit, and then potentially buy the wetsuit if you want. And there's also discounts for buying the wetsuits as an Embark member. Okay, let's have a little look at the equipment. To start off with swimming, okay, we're going to go through this relatively quickly, but you need to get yourself a nice pair of goggles. Go and spend some money on them. They're anything from, I'd say, about 450 Rand to about 700 Rand. If you can't see in the water, it's really cuck. And if your goggles are leaking, it's really cuck. It's just a shit experience. So go and buy a nice pair of goggles. Try not to touch the lenses too much, because that's when they fog up. But a good way to see if the goggles are going to fit your face, and this is not going to work because my face is sweaty, but you put them on your face without putting the strap around you, and push the suction on your eyes. And if one of them sits like this, they're probably going to fit your face. So it means that you can probably buy these goggles. If you put them on that and they just fall off your face straight away, it probably means they're not fitting your face. So Some people have quite broader faces and some people have quite narrow faces, so not all goggles are going to fit everyone. So it's just a good way to try that. And if the goggles leak, take them back straight away. And if your goggles don't leak, buy 2-3 pairs of them, because they do change the models as we go along as well. These Zogs are actually, the brand is called Zogs. We find that they fit the majority of the triathletes. So the Zogs is a good name to remember. You need a swimming cap when you swim in open water, and it must be a brightly colored one. The reason that it must be brightly colored is because you've got to be seen if you're potentially in a bad situation. If you're flapping around and you're in a little bit of distress and you're in a white cap, you're the same color as the disturbed water. And if you're in dark water and you're in a black cap, you're not going to be seen either. So just have a brightly colored swim cap. If you're going to be joining us in swimming at the canals, you've got to buy one of the club's bright orange swimming caps anyway. So you can just keep on using that bright orange one. That's the swim. And then the wetsuits, they have 3 functions of a wetsuit. It's only the third function of a wetsuit is to keep you warm. The first one is that the neoprene is actually quicker than your skin, so it makes you faster. And obviously the different panels in the wetsuit are of different buoyancy, so it actually keeps you floating better. So it gives you a higher position in the water, which makes you more streamlined. And then the third one is that it obviously keeps you warm as well. So the better swimmers would generally, if they have an option, they wouldn't swim with a wetsuit just because their swimming is very good. But a beginner swimmer or someone who's just starting to get into swim or a medium swimmer can really get a great advantage from a swim. They can help you between like 5 to 8 seconds over 100 meters by just being in a wetsuit. And I'll tell you why that's true, because we've got 2 guys who swim at the southern suburbs who swim identically speed in the pool. And they went to Silvermine the other day, and one of them wore a wetsuit, and the other guy couldn't even hang on his feet just with having the wetsuit on. He wasn't swimming any harder, it's just that the wetsuit makes such a difference. Wetsuits, you can get anything from 3,500 Rand up to about 16,000 Rand. And a more expensive wetsuit isn't going to be a better wetsuit for you. So don't get conned into buying an expensive wetsuit. And it's the reason that we do these demo days is because we get the guys down and they give you proper advice on the wetsuits. So a better swimmer needs less buoyancy, whereas, sorry, put that back on. Whereas a beginner swimmer needs, is it the TV? Not yet, okay. Sorry, here we go. We're in. Okay, here we go, we're back. So a cheaper wetsuit will have more buoyancy in it because it doesn't have as much technology in the suit, but as a beginner swimmer, it's actually all you need. Okay, so try and get down to one of the demo days and get the right information from the wetsuit reps. So that is the wetsuit. So that kind of covers the swim. And of course you need a swimming costume underneath, so Speedo or shorts or whatever you want. I didn't want to bring my Speedo because I'm going to get laughed at, but... Okay, so swim. So now we get onto the bikes. You can do a triathlon on any bike. It doesn't matter. You can do it on a mountain bike if you have a mountain bike. But what I suggest, if you're only going to have one bike, is to get a road bike, because the road bike you can do the Cape Town Cycle Tour on. You can do all of those races. You can draft on that bike, and you can put a set of time trial bars on that bike to make you a little bit faster. If you've got money and you've got the budget, then I suggest you buy yourself a time trial bike and come and buy them from Giant as well. That is just buying yourself speed. The position on that bike is a lot more aerodynamic, so you're just naturally faster. And the faster you can ride on that bike, the faster the bike becomes, just because it can cut through the air a lot quicker. So if you can ride 30 k's an hour on a road bike and you can put the same power into riding a TT bike, you'll be riding at 33 kilometers an hour. So it just really does give you that advantage, but it only really helps you when you start riding fast. You see these really big guys who are quite unfit and they just think buying a time trial bike is going to make them faster. And they only ride 20 k's an hour. There's no benefit at all of that. So also just be realistic in your approach to how much money you spend. But if you've got lots of money, just buy the gadget. It's awesome. Some really nice stuff there. But don't be, as I say, you can have any bike and just get yourself an entry-level bike if you don't have a bike. Just get riding. You can invest in yourself as time goes on, and boy, you can invest in yourself. But just get riding. That's the main thing. Get into cleats as soon as you can. So, okay, we don't have a pair here, but you often see the guys on their bikes. They cleat themselves into the bike. And I know as a beginner, it almost feels that you're less safe being clipped in, but you're actually safer being clipped in because you're actually part of that bike. Then you can't get bounced off the bike. Your feet can't slip off the bike. You just got to remember to uncleat, because we get up to stop street and you think I'm in tackies, I'll just take my foot off, and you can't take your foot out quickly, and that's when you fall over. You're not going to fall over in cleats riding your bike. You're going to fall over when you stop riding your bike. Okay, so as soon as you can get into the cleats, the better. But Siobhan, if you're just starting out, Siobhan will slowly coax you into getting out of your tackies and getting into your cleats. These You can get road shoes and tri-shoes. I'll just go quickly. A tri-shoe is a lot easier to put on because obviously if your hands are wet and cold and you're wanting to race, it's just got one Velcro strap that you can just strap over your foot, and it's just got a little hook at the back here which you can hook onto the pedals and then onto the back derailleur or something, so your pedals can stay up like this, so you can just grab your bike and run and jump in and ride. Okay, but we're not doing too much technical stuff there. That's the shoes. You have to get yourself a helmet. Please, you can't ever ride your bike without a helmet. Okay, helmet. They come in various sizes, so make sure you put the helmet on your head. Make sure it fits your head and that the straps are fitted tightly around you. Often see people riding and the helmets, the straps on the helmet are lying here. And if you grab that helmet, you can actually just take the helmet straight off the head. So if you're riding and you fall, you can potentially hit the ground before that helmet, and that helmet's fallen off your head before this. So just make sure it's clipped there, just for safety. And buy yourself a pair of glasses. Okay, you can buy really nice glasses that make you look really cool, but you don't have to have those. It's just to stop bugs, as we live in summer and warm. If a bug hits you flying 20 k's this way and you're going 40 k's this way, you're not going to be able to see. So, and obviously it's very bright in the sunshine. So that's the goggles. Make sure that you've got 2 water bottle cages on your bike, especially as you start doing the longer stuff. So the water bottle cage holds the water bottles just so that you can take water with you. If you're riding 40 or 50 k's, you're going to go through 2 bottles. And when you start getting dehydrated, your performance goes down very quickly. So just make sure you've got those 2 bottles. I'd say the only other advice I'm going to give you about the bike now, because I'm not going to go too technical, is just make sure that your chain is oiled, because an unoiled chain is like 80% inefficient, because the chain is like metal rubbing on metal all the time going around like this. So make sure your chain is lubed, and just make sure your brakes work, please. Every time before you ride, you can just do like a little M check, just start that the wheels are tightened, because if you're driving with your bike and you're taking the wheels off, make sure you tighten the wheels back on, make sure your brakes are working, and make sure your wheels are pumped up and that your chain is lubed. Just some bike stuff. That's the bike. The running stuff, we spoke a little bit about the shoes. So you can go down to the run store, get your gait analysis done, get the correct pair of shoes. And a really nice tip here is to get elastic laces for your shoes. So you only tie the elastic, you take your original laces out, you put the elastic laces in, and you only tie them once. So you put them on your feet and you just walk around a little bit and tie them and make sure that you get it right. And once they're adjusted like that, you never have to tie the shoes again. You can slip your feet in and out. They're never going to come off your feet. Obviously they'll come off your feet, but you've got to work them off your feet. And then when you're racing, it's very quick just to put the shoes on and off. So you'll never tie them too tightly. So what happens in the races as well, if you get off the bike and you're a little bit cold, you tie your laces too tightly, and your feet start to go numb, and it's a horrible feeling when you're running. So this way, it doesn't ever change. And then just get a visor or a peak or something, just purely from the sunshine. Then you'll need a race belt. So at every triathlon, they give you a race number, and you're not allowed to wear it during the swim. You put it on when you finish the swim and you're in transition, you're about to go out on the bike. So this is just purely just a race belt with the race number attached to it. So you would then strap it around your waist and then you slide it around to the back. So when you're riding, any official on the bike or any official can see you riding, because if it's on the front, you're bent over, they can't see it. And when you come into transition, oh man, I don't know why this is doing this. When you come into transition after the bike, then you can slide it across to the front, and then when you finish the race, the officials can see what your number is to take it down. But often we've now got timing chips as well. I don't know why this is not playing along anymore. There we go. I got it again. Okay. That's the race belt. And okay, and then what do we do? Sorry, I just wanted to talk one thing about the bicycle as well. Buy a little bike bag and have your spares in there, because obviously you've inflated your wheels. If you get a puncture, can't ride anymore, you need to fix that. So just have a spare tube with you and a tire levers and a way to pump the wheel up. And we will have sessions where we change tires and stuff like that, so you will know. But it's just good to keep the spares on you. I just keep the little one like this in my pocket all the time, so that's fine. Okay, we're on to what you do in the day. You put on a tri-suit at the beginning of the day. There are 2-piece tri-suits, so there's a 1-piece tri-suit, which is that one. It's exactly that, it's a 1-piece. And then there's 2 pieces, which is the top and the bottoms. On both the 1-piece and the 2-piece, they have a little chamois in them. They're not like a riding chamois, so don't expect to have like a chamois that's as big as bib shorts. But once you start riding more in tri-shorts, you'll find these more comfortable than the bib shorts. It's just something you get used to riding with as well, so you need to practice like training in them. You put this either the 1-piece on or the 2-piece. on in the morning, and that's what you'd race in. So you'd have that on, you put your wetsuit over, you do your swim. When you finish the swim, you take your wetsuit off, put your helmet on, put your bike shoes on, you get on your bike, you go biking, you come in, when you finish the bike, you take your shoes off, put your tackies on, take your helmet off, put your cap on, and then you've already got your tri-suit on, and that's what you run in. So if you've got this equipment, you're ready to go to do a triathlon. Okay. The difference between the one piece is more expensive, but it's much nicer. It doesn't have the elastic around the waist, and it's butterflied at the front, so it's quite easy to take off. But it is more expensive. So if you've got the budget, you can buy both of them. The two-piece is nice to have because it's quite versatile. You can just wear the pants to do most of the stuff and the top as well. But you're unlikely to get in this and run down the promenade in your tri-suit. So keep that for racing. It's a good investment to have. And then use your two-piece just to do your training, your brick sessions and stuff like that. Are there any questions on the equipment? No. It's fine. It's good. It means that I'm explaining really well. Or there's some water. Would anyone like some water that doesn't have water? Because we've got waters here. Is everyone okay? Hang on. Freddie, can I throw it to you? All right. We're getting through this. Parking's free after 7. Where are we? I mentioned we do have different branches. So we've got the Atlantic Seaboard, which is with me here, which is the triathlon, and Siobhan, who does the beginner stuff. This will hopefully disappear now. We do have the running that I spoke about with Garth. The southern suburbs, I actually coach. We lost our coach in the middle of last year, so I just took over that coaching for the southern suburbs, but we do have a new coach coming in who kind of shares the riding and the indoor riding with me, and I take the swimming, and then we share the running side. So we're getting organized there in the southern suburbs. We have a branch in the Bloberg with Nicole, and we have a branch in the northern suburbs with Rainier, and we have a branch in Joburg as well. So if you're doing some traveling in Joburg or whatever, you can always join the group training on that side, or if you're in Joburg and you're training there, you can always come and join the group training this side, which is no problem. So, oh, thank you. Oh, get in there. Oh. Down to registration. So if you're interested in joining, you can do it directly through the Embark website. It's just click on the register tab and complete it. Just price-wise, the social program, which doesn't include the program, it just includes the group training. So you just kind of plug into whatever you want on a daily or weekly basis. That's $4.99 a month. If you want the specific goal, specific program for the 70.3s or the beginners program, whatever it be, it's $7.99, and that obviously includes the group training. And then if you want a more personalized program where we actually tweak your program for you, then that's $9.99. So now we go down to questions. If you need the loo, just quickly, I should have told you earlier, it's just out of the building and it's on the left here. And Calcaccio's is open as well, and selling beer and pizza, because I know there's load shedding for a long time now. I think until 10 o'clock, isn't it? Or did I just make that up? Okay. They told me that. Maybe it was a way to get guys to buy pizzas. But I mean, we're done with the presentation. Does anyone have any questions that they would like to ask that we can? Yes, here we go.
You've got one from your Instagram.
Oh, cool.
Someone called JB Dolph's Pizza.
Okay.
Ask Chunky to tell a joke.
Oh goodness. Okay. Someone in there.
What was another one?
Okay, let's get a serious question.
This is an excellent program from Max.
Max, okay, cool. Tell Max his check is in the post.
And Walker Bay says they love having us with them.
Oh, cool. Okay. Well, yes, Dan.
Can I just one thing about time? What's the difference between a time trial bike and a normal racing bike? Just the controls.
So a time trial bike is a lot more aggressive. The way you sit, you're a lot more aerodynamic. So you can put time trial bars on a road bike, which does get you into a more aero position, but it still can't compete with the frame that's built specifically as an aero frame.
How much faster do you reckon you'd be on a good bike as opposed to a really like entry-level bike?
There are stats to it. It's massive. It can be 10 to 15 minutes over 180 Ks. It's massive. And it's not the time you spend, it's the energy you save as well. So especially if you're running off the bike, it becomes a lot. But you've got lots of money, you can buy a time trial bike.
I've got lots of energy.
You've got lots of energy. Dan actually rode now 5,000 kilometers, is that right?
3,500.
3,500. He rode from Help me out. Where did you start? Denmark? From Denmark
to Rome.
to Rome.
For Operation Smile.
Yeah, for Operation Smile, we raised charity, money to do charity there. But amazing, you can actually go and have a look at the stuff that he did there, Sister Riding. One evening he sent, because he just stopped on the side of the road and he had a little tent in the back there, and he had money to occasionally stay in a nice place, but most of the time he just had to like slum it. And he found this like Blair Witch project one evening. It was just hectic. It was in the middle of Italy,
So I got some scary situations. I won't lie.
just
And I didn't have one of these nice bikes either, just for the record.
I think his cleat broke one day and he had to duct tape his shoe onto his pedal to get to the next town because he was in the middle of nowhere. But anyway, so lots of cool stories. So Dan can enlighten you in those stories. I'm still going to be here for a while. As I say, it's at 7 o'clock, the parking's free, so we can just kind of, it can become very informal. You can chat to Siobhan if you want a little bit about the beginners. Come and chat to me about anything. There's some more experienced guys here as well if you want to chat to them. But all in all, thank you very much for coming down. It's what David Tate said at the beginning is that if you're interested in doing it, just take that first step. And what I can always suggest to you as well is if you're thinking about starting, just come and start. You can always stop if you're not enjoying it. But don't say, cool, I'm going to start next month. Because in a month's time, everyone who starts tomorrow is going to be a month ahead of you. And you're just playing catch up then all the time. So if you're interested to start, and I can almost guarantee you once you start, it is life-changing. And I generally say it's like, when you sit here, you must look around because these are going to be your new friends. Because what happens is you don't go out on a Friday night anymore, or you'll go out on a Friday night and you'll drink and you'll miss a session in the morning. You'll say, damn it, I missed the session. So the next week you'll go out and you'll have half the amount of drinks, and then you'll wake up in the morning with a bit of a hangover and not enjoy the session because you're hungover. So the following week you'll only have one drink and it'll be very boring, but you'll have a great session. And then the following week you don't go out because you won't have a good session. And then eventually your friends stop phoning you because they say you're no fun. And when you do come, you just don't drink. And not that I'm condoning drinking, but just, you know what it's like. And then eventually it's just like, these become your friends. So, one question. Yesterday. Yeah. So we have ongoing, the training's always going. As I say, we've got guys who are training for PE and Ironman already. We've got guys who've just started with the beginners who Siobhan's helping already. So it is going, so you can plug in. There's just a big break between the programs now because the Durban program starts this week. So the Durban program starts towards the end of this week. The PE program carries on, the Ironman program carries on. The beginners program is just a continuation. So that's that one, Leo.
So if you've entered 70.3 and you get injured or sick or you haven't trained, are they quite open for you to change your entry from, let's say, PE to Durban? Asking for
depends who's watching on Instagram. You'll just need to check the T's and C's. I think you can get about 25% of your entry back, but that's it. You can't swap it out. I think you can email them and you can explain to them why. Let's see what they say. Yeah, you can defer as well, but I think it's got to be within the same. Yeah. When you said that's options, did you say not train? Was that the one you were alluding to? One more, yes. So it's always, so Tuesdays 6 to 7 a.m., Wednesdays 10 to 6 until 7, Thursdays 6 to 7, Friday 6 to 7. Yeah, so we're generally done by 7, and then it's coffee if you've got time to stop for coffee. We're generally done by 7. Yeah, and the weekend is longer depending on what we're doing. We generally like to start earlier to get off the roads as soon as possible, but we'll ride anything from like 1 hour with our beginners to 2 hours for the start of the Durban program, and the PE guys are riding up to about 4 hours now. The Ironman guys ride the whole weekend, actually. They start on Saturday morning, they finish on Sunday night. If we do afternoon sessions, so the Southern Suburbs guys swim on a Tuesday evening from 6 to 7. They run on a Wednesday morning 6 to 7. They do an indoor cycle on Thursday from 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock. And our swim on a Wednesday night on this side is from 5:30 to 6:30. And the strength work is 5:30 to 6:30. It just depends what times the park open. But yeah, we do a lot of the stuff in the mornings. In the evenings, it's generally 5:30 or 6. Okay. Well, that's it. Hang around. Let's have a little bit of a chat with the kind of formalities over. Thank you.